I'm delighted to be here today with Sefi Carmel, your
Christian.
amazing studio or man
you very
cave. What do you
much.
call it?
Well, I think every man needs a retreat with just a few toys and.
Just a few. This is absolutely stunning. So I don't really know where to start. Should we start with the modular stuff?
Yes, this is a Roland System 100, a vintage piece. This is probably like mid to late 70s.
Right.
And they are 1 volt per octave, the same as Moog.
Right.
And the same as the .com. So under the System 100 we have a synthesizers.com 3 oscillator. It's a Moog clone, really.
Okay.
This and this all talks to this. So this is a Moog Voyager.
Right.
With its breakout boxes, which make it connectable. And all the Moogafugas, everything they ever made, and a patch. And all this together is one beast that interconnects and is a, how many oscillators? 3 and 3. It's an 8 oscillator, 5 LFO, 10 envelope beast. Total monster. It's its own inspiration generator. You know, you hit a step sequencer, and you just. Nothing feels like standing and tweaking the big knobs, and it's just. It's a certain experience. It's an instrument that you play that you can, and a certain degree of satisfaction and tactile control that you'd never get with a plug-in. And it's a bit of a, I don't know, some people collect vintage cars, some people collect fine wines. I collect vintage synths and microphones. Continuing the tour, that's an SH-101.
Yeah.
That's a classic, but it's the Nova mod. There's an Australian guy that modifies these and adds like all of those buttons, and it adds FM, it adds a crazy overdrive, it adds an input that you can open and close the VCF with a control voltage, so a bit of modularity. The LFO syncs to clock, so you can do some funky host syncing stuff with that. An MS-20 that I have the filters to the MS-20 as the filters to the SH-101, all of them on auxiliary sends, where I can just say, oh, what does that drum loop sound like through the MS-20 filters, and send it to that or to any one of the Moogafugas.
Well, we'll talk about how you sum it all in the box in a moment, but I see there's some newer synths over there.
Yeah, so there's a Juno 60 there. Let us not forget it.
Let us know.
This is a nice little Korg. It's like the MS-2000, but this is quite an old one. I think that's probably 10, 15 years old or something like that. Hang on, I'll get a little sequence.
Very
going
popular in the 1990s, wasn't it?
The Base Station.
Yeah.
Yes, but the Base Station 2 is far superior. The Base Station was quite. I found the noise floor in it quite. So if that's the Base Station, under it is that monster.
SE1X.
The SE1X.
It is a monster, isn't it?
It is a monster, and under that is a TB clone. That Freebase is a TB303 clone.
Is it more usable than the TB303?
It is,
because I've got a TB303 and I can't work it out.
It's just got it's got MIDI in, and it's got you can tweak the sound of it.
Mm-hmm.
Prophet 8 that I really love. I mean,
really, is this a new thing?
No, Prophet 8 is 5-10 years old, something like that. A monster.
Yeah, absolutely.
A Nord, nice digital synth. It's kind of a bit alienated in this analog environment because the Nord and the Waldorf are the only two digital synths I have, but they're quite nice. a Matrix 6,
Yeah.
a JX8P.
Now this is interesting because I've got a GX 3P and it's my favourite kind of preset synth.
Yeah.
For when you need kind of shit sounds,
Yeah,
but you just
yeah.
trust that they're good shit sounds.
Yeah,
if you know,
yeah,
is that an evolution of that kind of?
It is. They have kind of really just nice kind of Roland-y pads. Kind of this is what I kind of use it for. I use it a lot for this kind of.
Yeah.
You know, it's just thick and nice and
Twin Peaksy.
yeah, exactly. In fact, I think Angelo Badalamenti used a JX8P to.
Wow.
Yes, I think that is the.
It's me on eBay later.
Yeah. Do you know what the funny thing is? I got that on eBay for 78 quid.
No.
I got that on eBay for 70. Yeah, I'm a bit of an eBay addict.
Right. There's a lot of this stuff from eBay.
No, all of it's from eBay. All of it is from eBay, including the aircraft seats, including everything. And sometimes there's a really good deal there, like that MS-20 that was in its original box with the stickers, that was like, you know, a third of what I'd expect to pay for
Wow.
it. So, but that doesn't happen so much anymore.
Well, the important thing with these is to get the editor as well. Did
Yes.
that come with it?
No,
No. Okay, so
the editor cost 3 times what I paid for the.
that's insane,
Yeah.
isn't it? Absolutely. And a good old Jupiter 6.
Well, that's a beast.
Yeah.
That is. That's, you know.
And it sits, I believe, at a kind of a turning point in Roland synthesis.
Because it's MIDI. It's
Yeah.
one of the first MIDI. I mean, I think the JX3P was
Yes.
the first MIDI, and kind of that came out kind of sort of circa 1982,
Okay.
together with the Jupiter 6. So the Jupiter 8 was DCB, as was the Juno 60, and to get MIDI into my Juno 60, I have a Kenton MIDI to DCB, but the Jupiters came DCB or came MIDI'd already.
Okay.
So
Brilliant. And finally, in this rack, there's some.
just some preamps,
Preamps.
an Avalon 737, a beautiful, lovely valve. You know, that's my go-to. A DBX valve with a digital output. It's nice. Focusrite, a Ted Fletcher, and a headphone amp.
Brilliant. Now, we'll get onto your microphones later, as you said, another one of your great passions. But how do you get all of this into the box? Do you just patch things into a couple of audio channels, or is it all live?
I want to be able to do what I was just doing now, to be able to say, oh, I want to hear this synth or I want to hear that synth. And I don't want to have to stand there and scratch my head and remember how the patch is wired. And so what I've done is there is a patch, and you can say, I want to put this synth into that, and you can patch stuff around.
Right.
However, everything is normal. I have, there is an analog input for every synth, for every output of every synth. They go into the good old Motus.
So, if correct me if I'm wrong, normal is basically when you have a patch bay, and if nothing's plugged into it, A will connect to B.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
So also that .com will always appear on input 37 or whatever in my Motu, because
Okay.
I have 48 inputs. It all arrives into Logic, into my template in Logic, and there is on the screen here, which I either put the film up on or the mixer.
Okay.
And if the film's up there, then the mixer moves to that screen. I can just touch a synth, that's the MS-20, you know, and if you go, for instance, and so it sends the MIDI to the correct,
Right.
and it gets the audio back in, and you have a fader for the MS-20, and it's like a software instrument. You can record the MIDI. If I want to then move to the Moog, I just touch that,
And each of them have a dedicated audio track to record
yes, yes. So they each have. I record their MIDI, and once I'm happy with the MIDI, I'll record. So, for instance, if I'm recording the Jupiter 6, that's the MIDI, and the audio of it. If I'm after I've recorded the MIDI, I'll record the audio onto this track, the Jupiter Audio, and that'll be just printed, you know, like a cello track or like a, you know, an audio track of that, and I can forget about it. I can change preset on the
right,
or I can change the sound, create something completely different. It's non-replicatable.
Yeah. Of course,
but that's, you know, that's fine.
Yeah. And I guess one of the problems that I have with, you know, virtual versus hardware, and this has been very inspiring for me because I'm about to wire my studio up, is the convenience of virtual. So I guess you're creating an environment where those lines are blurred, and therefore
absolutely
there's no. It's just what is best for the job, as opposed to having to get up, switch on, patch it in, blow the dust off.
I like to get up and touch the synths, but I can do it. You know, I can choose whatever synth I want to work on without getting up and kind of work as if they were virtual synths.
Now, we mentioned earlier that you have a great passion for synths and eBay. You also have a passion for microphones, and these look incredible. Are these just ornaments?
No, they all work. But these are, I mean, that's a 1940s RCA. That's the real deal. That's another RCA. That is an Electro Voice, very directional. These all work, and I use them.
Looks like something out of The Conversation.
Yes, exactly. It's extremely directional. It's extremely
really
kind of, I'd say, you know, the standard location microphone that we're you know used to today is the kind of Sennheiser 416. This is probably 3 times as narrow. I have, you know, all of the lots of modern mics like Neumanns and SEs and AKGs and Sennheisers, but they're not as interesting. They are transparent and lovely, but lack the character and imperfections that make these so unique.
Brilliant. So, Sefi, what is this little room?
Well, it's Studio 2. It's a nice tiny little room where we do Foley and sound design and editing, and I have a bit of the feat and sound design that we did for Snow Queen 3 up here. Okay. So we had, you're going to see there's a big, actually I'll play a bit.
Attack!
So we had...
Those Genelecs sound monstrous.
They're huge. They are huge. It's an optical illusion. They're just very far away. So we throw stuff around, throw a lot of rock around and a lot of fire around here. So yeah, so all of these lift, and we have sand under that one, gravel under that one, and that's a bit of concrete, but we throw...
And then I imagine you use the wood as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we create... so that monster, for instance, that we fondly call Monty the Monster, we created a contact instrument for, and that we just play in sync to the picture. We do all the Foley to picture in this room, and then mix it in the other room, and then when we have what we want, we take it to the big stage in town and
brilliant.
Show it to the clients.
Well, thanks for showing this room too. Brilliant.
Pleasure.
Now, we always like to kind of offer up a bit of a gem of advice for people who are maybe kind of entering into the world of media composition in particular. Now, you sit in this very unusual and enviable spot where you're working on both sides of the soundtrack fence. Are there common mistakes that composers make, and what would be your kind of top tip as someone who does sound and music?
I often have... I recently saw a masterclass given by a lovely gentleman, very experienced sound designer, that was telling me the tale of elbow battles that he had with very well-known composers, where the sound designer and composer were sitting side by side, and it was a battle of my sound design versus my music. And
egos, I imagine.
Yes, and now I have that battle all the time because I'm doing both. So I have the battle with the music and the sound design. But I think the advice to composers would be recognize that your music is serving a purpose, even if it's brilliant and lovely. Sometimes it does need to be played lower than you think it does, because there's other stuff happening, and the dialogue does need to be understood. And sometimes you've just, as a dubbing mixer, even though that cue is lovely, you've just got to grab that fader and pull it down another 3 dB, because she's mumbling a little bit and I want to hear what she's saying because it's important. So yeah, I think composers are often frustrated when they listen to the final dub. I can't hear my music in that cue. There was a beautiful cello there and it's barely. Sometimes it's like that.
Yeah.
Would be, deal with it.
Yeah.
Would be the advice about that one. Code digitation, I like that. Leave room for dialogue. There used to be all these rules about don't score for clarinets under dialogue and all of that. I wouldn't go as far as categorizing specific instruments, but just, if you have a chance, get the dialogue up when you're scoring. Listen to it. Can you understand the words? If you can't, what's getting in the way? Pick that instrument, maybe change an octave, maybe replace it with another instrument. So you can.
I think it's very good advice. A sound guy about 10 years ago said to me, "Why aren't you working with dialogue as master?" It's like, well, I can't hear what I'm doing. And he's like, well,
if you can't hear what you're doing, something's getting in the way of something.
Absolutely. And so it took about 6 months to get used to, but actually when you get used to working with dialogue, literally at the level it should be.
Exactly.
You just write around it.
Exactly.
And it becomes a lot easier, because dialogue is master. There's nothing you can do about that.
That carries, there's an American supervising sound designer once said to me, every layer of the soundtrack needs to tell the whole story. Obviously, the dialogue needs to carry it from a narrative. That's the words. The music needs to tell the story in terms of the mood and tell you what emotion you're supposed to feel. If you didn't understand the story, you can connect to it on an emotional level. And the atmospheres are telling you, close your eyes. Where are you? What are you hearing? Okay, we're in a city. Or okay, it's a slummy part of the city because I can hear sirens and people shouting outside. And so every layer tells that part of the story. But they need to leave room for each other. And what I do is I write music at 85 dB at Dolby level. I write and I work with the dialogue at the level it should be, and things are where they will sit in the dub. And when we're working on a film as a team, when somebody's completed cleaning up dialogue on a scene, I'll take that. If I had the unedited kind of noisy,
sure,
and suddenly there's a better asset, I'll replace it and I'll put the cleaner asset in, and I say, okay, so this is a lot cleaner than I thought it was. Good. I have more space to work around it. I can put more texture in here, more,
Okay. Well, I think that's great advice. Sefi, thanks so much for having us
Pleasure.
here.
Thank you so much for coming.
Brilliant. Fantastic.